Good evening, and welcome to tonight's Zoning Board of Appeals hearing. Let me introduce some members of town government that assist this board. To my left is Simone Vogarty, Assistant Town Attorney. To her left is Blaise Donadio, a planner in the Planning Department. You're all here tonight seeking relief from the Smithtown zoning ordinances, and it's our job to try to help you achieve the relief you are requesting whenever possible. It's up to you to provide us with precise and accurate information so we as a board can make, so we as a board can make a decision based on the facts presented. This board must consider the 5 area variance considerations in order to render a decision. They're listed up here for you. Number 1, whether an undesirable change will be produced in the character of the neighborhood or a detriment to nearby properties will be created by the granting of the variance. Number 2, whether the benefits sought by the applicant can be achieved by some method feasible for the applicant to pursue other than the area variance. Number 3, whether the variance is substantial. Number 4, whether the proposed variance will have an adverse effect or impact on the physical or environmental conditions in the neighborhood. And number 5, whether the alleged difficulty was self-created. Procedures for tonight's meeting. Cases will be called in the order they are advertised. When you are called, please present your certificates of postings and mailings to Mr. Donadio if you haven't done so already. Then you'll be asked to go to the podium, where you'll state your name and address for the record, and then proceed to tell us why you need your variance. At the end of your presentation, if anyone in the audience would like to speak on your case, they will be given one opportunity to do so. You can go back to the podium to answer their concerns. Once the public hearing is closed, no further information will be accepted concerning the case. There are 2 ways to find out about your case. You can call the Planning Department tomorrow after 12 p.m., or you can wait to be notified by mail. Blaise?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. The first case on the agenda, case number 19122, Rudy Lindor, 7 Cedarwood Lane, Comac. The location of the property is the north side of Cedarwood Lane, 241 feet east of Shinbone Lane. The property is zoned R10. The applicant is requesting variances to decrease the minimum distance from any lot line from 6 feet to 5 feet, to increase the maximum permitted paved surface in the rear yard from 25% to 36%, for an existing outdoor kitchen and 352 square foot raised masonry patio.
Is Mr. Oh, you. Good evening.
Good evening. Hi, my name is Rudy Lindor, 7 Cedarwood Lane in Comac. This is my wife.
Good evening.
Are you going to speak?
Maybe not.
Just introduce yourself anyway.
Marie Lindor.
Okay, thank you. You here tonight?
Yes, I had a pool put in the property. So when the inspector came to do the final inspection, the previous owner had a little barbecue, but I built some wall around it and make it a little higher. So so they wanted me to get a variance for that. So this is why we're here. And also, when we put the patio, there was some existing patio, but we added a little more to it. So that was deemed overpaved. So, yeah. Yeah. So those walls you see in the picture, so they were lower. So when I bought the property, but I just make them a little higher so we can have a place to sit down.
If you're going to speak, you need to speak into the microphone so we get it on the record.
Oh, because she was telling me, because it's kind of like on the slant, because I think one of the issues was that they said it was raised, but the way the property is, it's kind of on a slant, so it's.
So there's no way around it. So when we built the barbecue, so we didn't like raise it, but it was like the way the land was like originally.
Yeah.
All right, thank you. Does anyone on the board have any questions on this application?
No, thank you.
Planning?
No, thank you.
Sabrina's not here. Is there anyone in the audience like to be heard on this application? Can I have a motion to close the application, please?
So moved.
Motion has been made to close the application. It's been seconded. All in favor?
Aye.
Motion carried. Thank you very much.
Do I stay here or can go home or?
You can stay if you want. I'd go home.
It's a long night.
The next case on the agenda, case number 19124, Matthew Hawkins, 109 Autumn Drive, Hauppauge. The location of the property, the south side of Autumn Drive, 638 feet east of Pine Hollow Road. The property is owned R15. The applicant is requesting variances to reduce the minimum side yard setback from 16 feet to 3 feet, to reduce the total side yards from 34 feet to 27 feet, for a proposed 400-square-foot roof-over side patio.
Good evening.
Good evening, Mr. Chairman and members of the board. Amy DeVito, Woodhull Expediting, with offices at 800 Veterans Memorial Highway, Hauppauge. So we are here to propose a 20-foot by 20-foot roof-over patio. There is currently a deck in the area where we're proposing the roof-over patio with one of those store-bought arbors over it. The homeowners wanted to get rid of the deck and build a patio so that it's flush on the ground, and then install a permanent roof over for recreation. If you look at the survey, you could see that the roof over is being proposed to be, of course, on the side of the house, but also in front of their pool, because that is the main recreation area that they use in their yard. It's not shown on the survey because we didn't do a topography survey, but there is some topography in the backyard towards the towards where the back fence line is. So they don't really utilize that area. So this seemed to be the most logical spot for them to recreate. I do have some comps that I'd like to hand up to the board, and then I will just read them off for the record, if I may.
Thank you.
So we looked around the area and specifically in the same zone, and we were able to find some comparables that this or a prior board had decided amongst and approved. One in particular is case number 18718, which is from May 10th of 2022, where the side yard setback was reduced from 16 feet to 3 feet, as well as total side yards from 34 feet to 25 feet for a proposed one-story addition. While this is a completely open roof-over area, we found that this was just similar as far as setback. Obviously, this is a bit less intense than an addition, but still in the same kind of area. We also found another comp that was similar. This was from, let's see, January 24th of 2023, case number 18863. This was a variance to reduce the total side yards from 34 feet to 27 feet for a proposed first floor addition. There's also several more in the packet. I won't read them all off, but they are obviously part of the record now for the board to see. So the other part of this application is that this area in the backyard does have a 10-foot drainage easement. I had reached out to Bryn over in the highway department to ask if she can have her superiors give us their opinion on us placing the patio in this area of the yard and the roof over. They actually said that I was to go before you guys first, and then the law department would then, I guess, incorporate any type of hold harmless into the decision. So I haven't received any comments from them about this, but at this point, I'm happy to answer any questions the board may have.
So you're going 7 feet into the easement.
Yes, one of the corners, yes.
just one of the corners?
Yeah, it's there. The whole thing isn't in the easement. It kind of slants into it, but yes, at its sharpest point, it goes 7 feet in.
Okay. Anyone on the board have any questions on this application?
Just a question on the comps, because I didn't see them all. Are any of your other comps reducing the side yard setback down to just 3 feet?
Yes, the first one I read off.
Okay?
Yeah. Would you like me to state it for
No, I'm
record?
okay. It's just I had a little trouble
Yes.
keeping up with the notes as you went through them. I
Sorry.
don't speed write. All right, was it just one?
That particular one, there's also several total side yard reduction setbacks that are similar, and there's one that actually reduces a required side yard to 0 feet in where
Okay.
16 feet is required. That's also in the packet.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Anyone else on the board have any questions?
No, thank you.
Planning?
No, thank you.
Sabrina's not here. Is there anyone in the audience like to be heard on this application? Can I have a motion to close the application, please?
So moved.
Second.
Motion has been made to close the application. It's been seconded. All in favor?
Aye.
Motion carried. Thank you.
Thank you. Have a good evening.
You too. Oh. Yeah.
The next case on the agenda, case number 19125, Jacob Antaby is proposing to build a new home on a vacant lot. The vacant lot is located on Pulaski Road in Kings Park. The location of the property is the north side of Pulaski Road, 448 feet east of Town Line Road. The property is zoned R43. The applicant is requesting variances to reduce the minimum lot frontage at the setback line from 150 feet to 119 feet, to permit environmentally sensitive lands to be altered for slopes greater than 15%, to permit construction within 10 feet of any slope greater than 25%, for a proposed 2,547 square foot, two-story, single-family home with 416 square foot attached garage.
Good evening.
Good evening, Chairman and members of the board, and thank you for listening to our case. My name is Joe Oliveri of Garten Associates, and I'm representing the Antaby household in regard to their property on Pulaski Road in Kings Park. Mike.
Excuse me, do you have a power of attorney?
My client's here.
I'm sorry?
My client, the owner's here.
Oh, he's here?
Yeah.
I need him first.
Okay.
Yeah. Good evening.
Hi.
Can you just state your name and address for the record, please?
Name and address.
Just your name and address.
Jacob Antaby, 32 Curtis Path, East Northport, 11731.
Would you like this gentleman to speak on your
Yeah,
behalf?
sure.
Okay, fine, thank you.
Thank you.
I just brought him with me.
Well, I'm glad you did. Otherwise, we wouldn't be able to hear the case.
I understand. So my client has come before the board today in order to request permission to construct a new single-family, two-story split residence measuring 56 foot 8 by 35 foot 4, or 2,547 square feet, with a garage under of 416 square feet. The requested variances are for altering environmentally sensitive lands of slopes greater than 10% and to construct within 10 feet of any slope greater than 25%. Additionally, the minimum frontage at the setback line is required to be 150 feet. However, due to the shape of the site, there is only 119 feet of width at the setback line. To give some background, my client invited me out to walk the site last summer before his purchase. Upon arrival, it was evident that the site bears somewhat of an unusual slope change throughout, ranging in height from 160 foot above sea level in the front property all the way down to 136 feet above sea level in the rear of the property. At the front of the property is a bit of a natural peak that tapers down to the west and north of the site. This was a big obstacle to overcome, but I explained to my client that with careful planning and engineering, the site could be developed and we could work with the natural topography so as to leave as much of the natural landscape undisturbed as possible. He decided to move forward after meeting with the planning department, engineering department, and building department, who all said after a preliminary review that this property would not be an issue for development. We went ahead and we researched the town of Smithtown zoning rules regarding house setbacks, retaining walls, driveway slopes, etc. And then we spent months working out this current design that we proposed to you tonight. We feel that great care was taken to reduce the impact to the site as much as possible while still allowing the development. We located the driveway on a radius to match the natural topography. We located the house set back from the street to avoid the abnormal hill in the front of the property. We made this design work without requiring variances for the house location, size, or height, without going over the FAR and lot coverage. We made sure the slope of the driveway was in compliance, and we made sure that none of the retaining walls were over the maximum 4-foot height, and that their locations of those retaining walls also matched all of the zoning requirements. The result of this design solution the result was that all of the existing zoning requirements that we could control, we met or exceeded. Our issue, however, lies with the existing slope of the ground and the pre-existing lot width. We located in the house in the area of the property with the least slope. There is only an 8-foot difference in height over the course of the length of the house from side to side, which is over 50 feet. The house was designed to be a split level with the garage under, so as to further reduce the impact to the environmentally sensitive lands. We cut down on the square footage. Important to note is that this is not environmentally sensitive land due to its adjacency to protected wildlife areas or to DEC waterways. In fact, there are existing houses of comparable size on both adjacent properties to the north and west of the subject properties. The only thing that makes this land environmentally sensitive is the slope. In addition to designing for the least impact, careful consideration will be taken to control the rainwater runoff, both from the driveway and the roof of the house, forcing all runoff water into adequately sized dry wells. We have applied to the Suffolk County Board of Health for a new IA sanitary system for this new residence and have received approval based on our current configuration to construct. We feel that this project will have no negative effects on the local neighborhood as it matches to close to scale and style of the local neighboring residences. I prepared some boards to show.
Yeah, could you go back at the microphone, please?
I prepared a few boards to better exemplify the design that we have here. This top image just shows the grade and where we set the house so far back from the street to avoid the steep slope area. This is a front elevation and a rendering of what the house will look like. And then this is a proposed site plan. This site plan was prepared by myself and our team, and then the town overlaid, or the engineering department overlaid a gray area on this map that shows the area that is in excess of 25% slope. And it's hard to see, but the yellow highlighted area of the house is the area of the house that is in question, with being in that 10-foot setback from the steep grade. So I just wanted to show that it's very low impact. You know, it's not like the whole house is located on the steep slope. And if you look, there's kind of a hole in between the two steep slope areas that we kind of nestled the house, and we think that that is truly the least impactful. This area of land, when you stand on it, you know, boots on the ground, if you will, is very flat, although there is a grade change to it. And also, as far as environmentally sensitive protection, because we're putting a driveway like this all the way to this point of the property, when we put that driveway in, we got to provide drainage and dry wells to accommodate all the water that hits this driveway. And the slope of the property is sloped from high over here to low. And I'm sure that this property gets a lot of rain runoff, and over time, you know, could be an issue. But once we put this driveway in and build this house, all the water that's coming down this slope is going to be caught by the dry wells of the driveway and the dry wells for the roof drainage. So it's going to help this particular area in getting groundwater back into the ground and reducing runoff.
On the northeast side of the driveway, are those retaining walls?
Yes, there will be retaining walls on
Two
both.
two of them?
Yes.
How tall are they?
They're both under 4 feet.
Under-
The
Okay.
Let me get the lines. The first one is, well, it varies in height, but basically it's a 2-foot wall and then another 2-foot wall. So the total height will not surpass the 4 feet. And after going to engineering and building department, all of the retaining walls are under 4 feet, did not require a variance. The slope of the driveway, we took careful consideration. We actually made the driveway longer than it had to be to give it the right slope. So all those details and all those engineering items have been handled and do not require variance.
How long is the driveway?
It's probably about 130 feet long.
Okay.
It's a long driveway.
Yeah,
And
it's gonna be tough in the winter.
I think one of the early problems that my client had with this property was the driveway. He said, "Joe, that driveway is going to be a lot of money to build." And I said, "I know, but you can't put the house on this hill, you know?" So this property has been around. It's one of the few properties in the area that's left undeveloped. And I think that there was a previous case before the board in the early 2000s where there was a proposal made, but it was directly in the environmentally sensitive area. And I don't think that they went through the same rigor as we have to try and accommodate as much of that as we could.
Okay.
And I just want to point out that the code is the code, but we did go early on and speak to the town and try to get some feedback with some early sketches. And we really were surprised when we were told about this. So we've done everything we can to prepare a good case for you guys.
Okay, thank you. Does anyone else on the board have any questions?
Oh, thank you.
No, thank you.
Planning?
No, thank you.
David, you have nothing on this, right? Is there anyone in the audience like to be heard on this application? Can I have a motion to close the application, please?
So moved.
Motion has been made to close the application. It's been seconded. All in favor? Aye. Motion carried. Thank you.
The next case on the agenda, case number 19126, Elia Athanasiadis, 66 Roxbury Drive, Comac. The location of the property is the north side of Roxbury Drive, 528 feet east of Bury Court. The property is owned R10. The applicant is requesting variances to reduce the minimum side yard setback from 12 feet to 3 feet, to reduce the total side yards from 28 feet to 21 feet, to increase the maximum gross floor area of a lot from 30% to 31% for a proposed 858 square foot second floor addition and 26 square foot side roof over entry.
Good evening.
Good evening. My name is Elia Athanasiadis. I live at 66 Roxbury Drive. I'm here with Joe, and you can speak on my behalf.
He's going to speak on your behalf.
Yep.
Okay, fine.
Thank you.
Good evening once again.
I'm all warmed up now.
Okay, just introduce yourself one more time so we get it on the record for this case.
No problem. Good evening, Chairman and members of the board, and thank you for listening to our case. My name is Joe Oliveri of Garten Associates, and I'm representing the Athanasiadis household in regards to their property at 66 Roxbury Drive in Comac. My client has come before the board today in order to request an area variance for a proposed second-floor addition over an existing first-floor garage and great room. The Athanasiadis family is intending to build the structure to satisfy many of the needs that the property cannot accommodate with its current configuration. They are planning to relocate a bedroom from the first floor to the second floor and make it into a new master bedroom suite. This will allow for the other 3 second-floor bedrooms to be used for their 3 children, so everyone gets their own room. The new bedroom will also have a private bathroom and walk-in closets. The property is located in an R10 zone. We're requesting an 858 square foot second floor addition that measures 22 foot by 38 foot 11 and will be built directly over the existing walls of the first floor garage and great room. The minimum required side yard setback is 12 feet, and we are requesting to reduce that to 3 feet to the roofed over entrance and 7 feet to the existing side wall of the house. The minimum total side yard is 28 feet, and we are requesting to reduce that to 21 feet. The maximum permitted gross floor area is 30%, and we are requesting an increase to 31%. In regards to the side yard and total side yard, they are not increasing from the first floor, existing first floor, except for the side roofed over entrance, which is just to provide a covering while entering the side of the garage. So we're not making the house any wider. We're just building over the existing first floor to the existing wall that's already at the same setback that it's always been. And they have since added, they want to add a small roofed over, just so that when they're going into the side door, they can stay dry. This is an important home improvement for the family to give their children their own rooms and allow for a comfortable room for themselves. This family has kept exceptional care of their home and property and have no issues with their neighbors. We feel that this addition will not impact the neighborhood in any way.
Does anyone on the board have any questions on this application?
No, thank you.
Nope.
Planning?
No, thank you.
David?
Department of Environment and Waterways identified that this application may need Health Department approval for the number of bedrooms in the house. We sent the applicant a letter. The applicant has responded with some additional information, and we're still working through that with them at this time as to whether that or not that is necessary.
So, what, be no decision on this tonight.
So if I can just comment on the.
Certainly.
Yeah, so I think there was confusion because the existing house, when they purchased the home, had a bedroom in the garage. The garage was a bedroom. It was converted from a garage into a bedroom, but I do have a foil with the town stamps on it that shows that that was the case. When they moved in, they realized that they needed a garage, and they removed this bedroom. They didn't get a permit, but we're gonna fix that in this round. So we're not adding a new bedroom, we're relocating an existing bedroom that already had a CO in the house.
How many bedrooms are there?
There's 3 bedrooms upstairs, and there's a bedroom that has a CO on the first floor. So it's a 4-bedroom house,
Okay.
and we're asking for the same 4 bedrooms in the end.
So you still need to go over everything.
The permit information we got from the building department in the last day or two, and the document that the gentleman's referring to was kind of incomplete, and we need to research that. It was also dated 1975 instead of 1973, so we still need to work through some of the issues, but we are trying to work with the applicant on this.
All right,
Just put it all out there.
okay.
There's a little bit of work in this house, a little bit of cleanup work. There was some work done by the previous owner that didn't have a CO. So we need to kind of, this is their attempt. They want to fix everything all at once.
Right.
And this is step 1.
Is there anyone in the audience like to be heard on this application? Would you raise your hand back there, sir? No? Okay, thank you. Can I have a motion to close the application, please?
So moved.
Second.
Motion has been made to close the application. It's been seconded. All in favor?
Aye.
Motion carried. Thank you.
Thank you.
The next case on the agenda is case number 19128, Robert Delhay, 17 Einstein Place, Smithtown. The location of the property is the northeast corner of Einstein Place and Brook Lane. The property is zoned R10. The applicant is requesting variances to reduce the minimum front yard setback on Brook Lane from 40 feet to 33 feet for a proposed 300-square-foot first-floor addition to reduce the minimum side yard setback from 12 feet to 0 for an existing 120-square-foot plastic shed.
Good evening.
Evening. Robert Delhay, 17 Einstein Place. We are requesting to reduce the front yard from 40 feet to 33 feet. We're looking to add a 15-foot by 4-inch addition to the side yard, which will be 1 story. As you can see in the photos I provided on this side of the house, I also provided other photos where you could see that there are multiple homes in the neighborhood that have the same style addition, which went into the decision to do this style for our home. You can see there. And then there's another home too. There is no plumbing needed. There's no additional bedrooms being added. It's simply a stick build, as my contractor keeps putting it. And that's it.
On the Brook Lane side of your house, you have a very nice buffer.
Yeah.
You're not going to remove any of that, are you?
No,
The
no,
trees?
no, not at all.
Okay, good.
No.
All right. So all the work will be behind the buffer.
Yeah, behind.
Does anyone on the board have any questions on this application?
No.
The existing shed, did you put that in, or did the prior owner?
Oh, the prior owner. Sorry, I forgot to address that. Yeah,
That's
that was the prior owner. So we got an updated survey a month ago. So that was added. The previous survey was from, I don't even know, a long time ago.
When did you buy the house?
30 plus years ago. 2021.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Planning?
No, thank you.
David?
Environment has no comments on this.
Thank you. Is there anyone in the audience like to be heard on this application? Can I have a motion to close the application, please?
So moved.
Second?
Motion has been made to close the application. It's been seconded. All in favor?
Aye.
Motion carried. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
The next case on the agenda, case number 19127, Mark Vanelli, 19 Cherokee Lane, Comac. The location of the property is the east side of Cherokee Lane, 192 feet north of Sioux Drive. The property is zoned R10. The applicant is requesting variances to reduce the minimum side yard setback from 12 feet to 6 feet, to reduce the total side yards from 28 feet to 19 feet for an existing 49-square-foot hot tub.
Good evening.
Hi, good evening. Mark Vanelli, 19 Cherokee Lane, Comac. Thank you. So as stated, it's probably best to see the picture where the hot tub is located currently. We'd like to keep the hot tub as positioned. We have pavers built around it. It's 6 feet from the fence that you see the privacy trees right there. At the time, it was under my understanding that the backyard was the rear yard was the same thing, but as we're learning, that's what prompted the variance. So right now it's in the side yard, and the minimum distance we would like to reduce on this side to 6 feet, which also ends up having us reduce the total side yard.
Does anyone on the board have any questions on this application?
No, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. David, you don't have any? No. Is there anyone in the audience like to be heard on this application? Can I have a motion to close the application, please?
So moved.
Second?
Motion has been made to close the application. It's been seconded. All in favor?
Aye.
Motion carried. Thank you.
The next case on the agenda, case number 19061, Mary Sue Namus, 9 Paddock Drive, Fort Salonga. The location of the property is the north side of Paddock Drive, 305 feet west of Narrow Lane. The property is zoned R43. The applicant is requesting variances to increase the maximum height from 15 to 17 feet, to reduce the minimum distance to a rear lot line from 10 feet to 2 feet for an existing 480 square foot shed, to reduce the minimum side yard setback from 24 feet to 16 feet, and to reduce total side yards from 60 feet to 45 feet for an existing hot tub on paver patio.
Is the applicant here? All right, what we're going to do is we'll move this to the last case, just in case they got tied up in traffic. So we'll proceed to the next case.
Okay. The next case on the agenda, case number 19113, J. Nazaro LP, Taco Bell, 501 Route 111, Hauppauge. The location of the property is the east side of Hauppauge Road, 200 feet south of Smithtown Bypass. The property is zoned NB. The applicant is requesting variances to increase the minimum area of a ground sign from 32 square feet to 73 square feet for signs 9 and 10, to increase the maximum area of a ground sign from 32 feet to 187 square feet for sign number 14, to increase the number of ground signs from a maximum of 1 per parcel to 8 for signs 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, and 14, to increase the maximum height of a wall sign from 15 feet to 18 feet for sign number 2, to increase the maximum height of a wall sign from 15 feet to 25 feet for sign number 3, to increase the maximum height of a wall sign from 15 feet to 19 feet for sign number 4, to increase the maximum height of a wall sign from 15 feet to 28 feet for sign number 1, to increase the number of wall signs from a maximum of 1 to 5 signs for sign numbers 1, 2, 3, 4, and 6, to permit wall signs not to face a public street for sign numbers 3, 4, and 6.
Good evening.
Good evening, Chairman, members of the board. Eric Mine, I'm with Bowler, B-O-H-L-E-R. We're the civil engineer on the project here on behalf of the owner, applicant. I provided a letter of authorization to the clerk. Sure, it's M-E-Y-N. Thank you. Chairman, I'll take guidance from you. We can go through each variance or each sign one by one, or we were afforded the opportunity to review the recommendations from planning, which may be easier for us to go through.
It would be.
Okay, so we'll
let's
go
do it
that
that way.
route. So the planning recommendations are acceptable to my client, other than one we'd like the board to consider. The third item in that letter, the variance to increase the maximum number of ground signs from 1 per parcel to 8, whereas planning recommended approving 7 only for signs 7 through 12 on the plan you see on the screen, as well as sign 14. My client would just ask that the board would consider sign 13 as well. These are signs for mobile order pickup, which is becoming more and more popular at these locations, and it's preferred to designate that stall for mobile order pickup. That would be on sheet number 5, sign number 5, yes. So that sign in the upper right corner on the screen currently, it's about 5 feet tall. It's an aluminum structure. It's an aluminum pole around the outside with an aluminum placard. It's only about 1.5 feet wide. And again, those are just designated for the mobile order pickup stalls. That's the only deviation we'd ask the board to consider. Otherwise, the planning letter is acceptable to my client.
We did get a letter from a neighbor in the back. He had some concerns. One of them was lighting. Of course, everything that you do will be shielded, pointed down, so it will not affect the neighbors whatsoever,
Correct.
okay?
And as part of planning's recommendation, the wall signs that were facing to the rear, we're gonna remove.
How large is the buffer in the rear?
Oh, geez. It's got to be a couple hundred feet, 200 or 300 feet, and we'll have significant plantings at the rear. I know it's aligned with the access from across 347, across 111 to the site, so it'll be densely planted at that entry point.
All right, so there'll be quite a distance from Taco Bell to the neighboring.
Absolutely. The Taco Bell itself, just to put it on the record too, and why it sounds like there's a lot of signs being requested, but it's, you know, almost 150 feet off the road itself.
All right. Excuse me. Anyone on the board have any questions on this application?
No, thank you.
No. Planning?
No, thank you.
David, do you have anything?
I'd just like to note that the environmental review is only for the signs and not for the other aspects of the project, such as the buffering or lighting in the parking lot, and that'll be conducted at the time of site plan.
Thank you. Is there anyone in the audience like to be heard in this application? Sir, come on up. Good evening.
Good evening. My name is Frank Tortorici. Tortorici.
Thank you.
My address is 32 Apple Tree Drive in Hauppauge. I've lived in the area 39 years. I've seen a lot of changes on the Route 111 area as well as 347. Unless I misinterpret something here, I'm vehemently opposed to seeing this signage. I think that increasing a sign from 15 feet to 28 feet is somewhat obnoxious. Additionally, the number of signs from 1 per parcel to 8 per parcel, I would like to have greater clarity as to why we're increasing it to 8. Is this 8 separate units? Is this a shopping center? Or if not, why would one structure require so much signage? Additionally, if I look from north, coming off LIE on Route 111, going north, and we look at the different types of properties that are there, it seems that the signage is rather uniform. Whether you're coming up now from Town Line Road to 347, where you have ShopRite, Autobahn, Starbucks, all of the signage is rather uniform. We're on a county road, 1 lane in each direction. I can't see why we need the signage to attract, number 1, more traffic. Number 2, the lighting is another issue. More importantly, I think that it changes the whole aura of the community. On 347, from a Northern State Parkway going east, again, signage is uniform. Why should we deviate from that? Again, I'm there 39 years. It seems that the planning has been within reason. I find this to be somewhat obnoxious. Additionally, I vehemently oppose this application because I don't see what this is doing for the benefit of the community. Okay?
All right. We'll bring them back to answer some of your concerns.
Okay. Thank
All
you,
right?
sir.
Thank you.
All right.
Is there anyone else in the audience like to be heard on this application? No.
All right, Mr. Chairman, I guess we'll take it sign by sign. So just as far as the visibility comment, there's only one monument sign being proposed up on the roadway. That's the one you'll see in the upper left-hand corner. So that's the sign that's going to be designated for this development, and the Taco Bell will just have a panel on that sign. And per planning's recommendations, that sign is going to be reduced down to about 8 feet by 8 feet in size maximum, with a 2-foot base. So it's really not that significant a sign for a parcel this size. Then as far as the other freestanding signs go, it's a little misleading, I would say, in my opinion, the way the town interprets it, because this is a drive-through, so all of the drive-through elements are considered signage. So there are 2 menu boards. Those are 2 of the signs. There's 2 canopies that sit over the menu board, so when you're ordering, you're not in the rain. Those 2 are also considered signs. And then there's the clearance bar for the drive-through. So when you enter the drive-through, it has the clearance limitation so that you're not bumping into the canopies on the building. That's also considered a sign by the town. And then the other 2 signs that we're requesting were the signs I referred to before, the 5-foot-tall mobile order only signs that go outside the front of the building just to designate those parking spaces. So that's why it's 8 signs. It's not 8 freestanding signs advertising Taco Bell. If you look, the menu board's in the upper left up there. There's no copy on that other than the board, the menu itself. And then the canopy is right next to it. Again, there's no copy on that. It's just a canopy for convenience of ordering. And then on the lower part of the drawing you're looking at on the screen, that's the clearance bar. So it does have some copy on it indicating the height.
If you went to another Taco Bell within the area of Smithtown, they would be similar to this?
They would all have this. It's part and parcel to the drive-through being able to function properly.
Thank you. Okay. I have a motion to close the...
So moved.
Motion has been made to close the application. It's been seconded. All in favor?
Aye.
Motion carried. Thank you. Everybody gets one opportunity, sir.
Okay. The next case on the agenda, case number 19061, Mary Sue Namus, 9 Paddock Drive, Fort Salonga. The location of the property is the north side of Paddock Drive, 305 feet west of Narrow Lane. The property is zoned R43. The applicant is requesting variances to increase the maximum height from 15 feet to 17 feet, to reduce the minimum distance to a rear lot line from 10 feet to 2 feet for an existing 480 square foot shed, to reduce the minimum side yard setback from 24 feet to 16 feet and reduce total side yards from 60 feet to 45 feet for an existing hot tub on paver patio.
Good evening.
Good evening, members of the board. My name is Dean Kutsubis. My address is 121 Newbridge Road, Hicksville, New York, 11801. I'm here today with my client, the owner, Mary Sue Namus.
Good evening. My name is Mary Sue Namayas, 9 Paddock Drive in Fort Salonga. Thank you.
This gentleman's going to speak on your behalf.
Yes.
Yeah.
I'm sorry about that. Yes. Thank you.
All right. Good evening, members of the board. I'd like to start off by submitting some photographs of, there's some current photographs of the shed that we're looking to legalize. And we appreciate the opportunity to be back here second time for this same project. And since the prior variance hearing that we had, I have visited the site together with the architect. We verified the plans and the dimensions on the plans with the architect, confirmed that the ceiling height of the first floor is 8 feet, confirmed that the second floor ceiling height is 4'9" at the plate height and 5'5" at the ceiling height. I also confirmed that the ridge height is 17 feet. So with a ceiling this low in the second floor, it is not practical to use a space as, let's say, a hangout room or, let's say, a future living space. So it's clearly the second floor, when I went in the upstairs, I had to lean over to stand up. So really, it's not that high of a space. I also have here an email from Josephine Castellis, which I confirmed with the town of Smithtown Plan Examiner, that as long as the ceiling of the second floor is under 5'10" in height, it won't count in floor area. That was an issue that was brought up at the last hearing, and I did, we submitted new plans, which indicate the actual ceiling heights of the second floor. Another discussion I had with my clients, and which was also brought up with the architect, is they agreed to remove the windows of the second floor, dormer, so there will be no windows facing the neighbor's house. And really, the only purpose of the second floor is only for storage of boxes and household items. I went upstairs, and that's exactly what I saw. In addition, we also had the property surveyed, and we verified that the rear yard setback is actually 7.5 feet. And it is shown on the survey, and it is shown on this plot plan here. 7.5 feet is the actual rear yard setback, not 2 feet. 2 feet is the side yard setback. So even though we're asking for a 10, I know the code is 10 feet, we're really asking for a 2.5 foot reduction of the rear yard and a setback with the neighbor that's somewhat most affected or most concerned. And in addition, I have to state, from the photos that I submitted, I'll also state that there are currently trees planted there, which, as you see in the photos, they partially screen this structure. And when they fully mature, they'll further screen the shed structure. So that concludes my presentation. If there's any questions or any questions from my client,
I still, when I look at that, that's not a shed. I'm sorry, it's not a shed. That looks like a two-car garage with the second floor on it. That is 480 square feet?
the dimensions of it are 20 by 24, yeah.
But
So,
that you submit doesn't look like.
that was under construction, and the pictures I submitted, that's the first floor. So inside, they do have their own 4 quads on the first floor. They do have the 4 quads. In addition, their tools, their storage.
You have a picture of the second floor?
And members of the board, I totally understand this is somewhat of a self-created hardship. We are here asking for forgiveness. We understand that aspect of this variance. I'd also just like to point out, it is 162 feet away from the neighbor's house. It's pointed out on this plot diagram. That's the best that I can present here, and we kindly ask for your approval. Even with the height, I'd like to point out whether, I understand the code is 15 feet to the ridge. We're asking for 17 feet. I've been before this board and, requested 17 feet in the past. I understand other circumstances are different. This is a unique situation, whether it's 15 feet or 17 feet.
That looks taller than 17 feet.
I can assure you, I spent quite a bit of time. I went with the architect. I measured from my I took the time to measure from the top of the ridge to the slab, and I measured 17 feet. So,
One of the tough things that we have to deal with here is that when you're asking for relief in the height and asking for relief from the side yard, it makes it more difficult because the taller it is, the more impacting it is. So typically, this board likes to grant relief. We would say, okay, if you're going to make it taller, then we want to push it a little bit away from the property line so it doesn't have as much of an impact on the neighbor. Because this is already done, that becomes difficult to do. So it puts the board in a difficult position to say, all right, how do we make this so that it's accomplishing the applicant's objectives, but also not impacting the neighbor who also has property rights? And, you know, obviously, one of the things we would do is say, hey, maybe we lower that roof because that's, you know, a normal shed is less impacting when it's not as high up against the property line. And by your own admission, if you're only using that second story for storage of boxes, you don't need 6 feet to store boxes.
that's correct. I mean, we're not asking for 6 feet. If you look at, I did submit 3 new sets of plans. I do have a copy here. The second floor, the plate height at the dormers, like where you see the windows, the plate height is only 4 foot 9 inches tall. So 4 foot 9 inches comes up to like here, and then and at the actual at the
Peak.
ceiling height, it comes up to 5 foot 5 inches. So there's a space between the ceiling joists and the top of the ridge, but that's very, very minimal at that point. It's built already. It's built already. It would be to try to lower the ridge height at this point. It would be not practical. And whether again, I appreciate, you know, I respect your concerns. I respect that, you know, maybe one or not the other. Being that it's built already, we're asking for a variance to keep it in its current state.
Again, on that drawing there,
Yes.
the gentlemen that are working, your contractors, they're standing on the second floor. Second floor.
That photo, I have to be honest, that photo is very, very misleading. I went up in that second floor. I had to lean down. It was at the, you know, it seems like the ceiling beams are not in place in that photo. That's definitely a possibility. The floor joists may not even be in place in that photo. I'm not sure. I can't see the floor, but you know, that photo, yes, I understand. When I was here last time, I saw that photo, and I agree with you from what you see, but when I went and visited the site, I was there approximately 3 weeks ago, I visited the site, I measured, I stood up on that second floor, and it's clearly, you know, you can't, it's not high enough to like really stand and make it, you know, any sort of like space for people to use other than to put stuff up there.
You said the first floor was 8 feet, correct?
The first floor is 8 feet,
And
yes.
the ridge height was 17 feet.
17,
So
yes.
that leaves 9 feet. If you take 8 inches out for the floor joist and 8 inches out for the ridge, you still have
No, all
7
right.
feet.
The floor joists are 1 foot 1 inch. They're used the 12-inch TJIs plus the 3/4 inch plywood, and then the ridge itself is also a 12-inch ridge board. So you lose, you know, that's 2 feet right there, and then there's a gap between the ceiling joists and the ridge. So there is some space, which is structural purposes, and, you know, I have the drawing here. I can verify, I can assure you that these dimensions matched what was built.
Thank you.
You know,
Planning, do you have anything?
I don't have anything more to add than the last time that we met on this case, but I do have to ask 2 questions. Number one, can you bring up the interior photo of the first floor? What are these pictures of? What structure are these pictures of? Because this structure in these pictures do not look like a brand-new structure. That looks like a structure that's several years old at the very least. Are these photos of that structure on the first floor?
Yes, those are photos of that structure on the first floor. It's, from what I understand in speaking to my clients, they pretty much took everything that was in their garage, because they had gotten a new car, everything that was in their garage, and they brought it into this shed structure. And currently, what you're looking at on the outside, just to clarify, that's not the siding. They got a brown tarp just to protect the, because they didn't, being that they got the stop work order, we're waiting for a variance, they didn't want to put the siding on, they didn't want to put the roof on until we knew, you know, whether or not this could get approved. So that's what the exterior material is, just the tarp. And yes, if you could see those windows, they appear to be brand-new windows. And yeah, just like that.
So my other, well, actually, it's more of a statement than a question. They say that a picture speaks 1,000 words. So when we look at the photo, if you would bring that up and zoom in, there are 3 gentlemen that I can see in the photo, possibly 4, standing on the floor of the second floor of that shed. And all of them are standing straight up and down. So I'm not understanding how the height of the ceiling is 4 feet 9 inches when those men are standing straight up and down and still have space above their heads.
Again, I did not take that photo. I don't know if, I can't tell if they're standing on the floor. I can't tell if they're standing on a scaffold. I can definitely see that there are no ceiling beams in that photo. So that's clear. I don't see the flat portion of the ceiling beams. And I also don't know if there was any changes made during construction which altered that, you know, the situation. So all I could vouch for is the current state. You know, changes happen in the field. We don't know if they changed anything during construction.
The only other thing I can add is that the board has seen many applications for sheds over the past decade or more that I've been the planner working with the board. I've never seen a 2-story shed. I've seen 2-story homes. I've seen 2-story detached garages. I've seen other types of 2-story accessory structures. I've never seen a shed that was 17 feet tall and had a second floor. That's all I've got.
And in character of the neighborhood, I've never seen this 2-story shed either in that neighborhood.
Just to recap, this has been adjourned, this is the 4th time. The same plans are being submitted as you submitted the first time. The only thing that you're going to do is eliminate the 3 windows in the back?
Correct, eliminating the 3 windows in the back, and these plans are actually, we verified the dimensions we made, because at the time when I was here for that last hearing, looking at those pictures, I needed to verify for myself. Maybe they didn't build in accordance with the plans, and that was the concern that I had at that point. But you know, measuring and checking and having the architect verify those dimensions, we verified that the plans match what was built.
So I have one more question.
Yeah.
You measured the plate height at 4'9", you said?
Yes.
And then you have that shed dormer?
That's at the shed dormer.
That's 4'9" at the shed dormer?
Yes, those pictures appear to be
Can
taller.
you go back, Matt, to can you zoom in on that? See those studs on the outside wall?
Yes.
That's 4'9".
That's 4'9".
The shed dormer isn't in yet, correct?
I can't tell from that photo that.
Well, I can tell from looking at this picture.
Yeah.
The one that you submitted that shows this height here.
Yeah. So. May I come up and?
Yeah. You have it.
Okay.
You got to grab the mic. You can take it with you if you want.
Okay. On the inside, from here to here, is the 4'9" plate height. I mean, yes, it does look different in that photo. Maybe something got changed during construction, which I don't know. I wasn't involved. I only was brought in to help with this variance after the fact that it was built. But
Thank you.
that's all I can attest to.
No more questions?
No.
No? Okay. Is there anyone in the audience like to be heard on this application? Come on up, please. Good evening.
Good evening. My name is Nicole Fracalvieri. I live at 4 Narrow Lane in Fort Salonga.
Can you spell your last name?
Sure. Fracalvieri. I was here last time. I'm the one that submitted those photographs. I reside directly behind them. My property runs parallel to theirs. It impacts my backyard a lot. I wanted to actually see if I could see the photographs that were just submitted, that they just brought in. And I want to. Okay, so first I wanted to point out that the green giants that are providing some relief, those I planted 3 years ago in order to gain privacy. I planted them around my entire backyard. It took 3 years for those trees to grow to that height, and now it will probably take another 3 years for them to cover that, if they even grow that high and cover that, at their fullest part. I think, I know they're saying that they're trying to only go 2 feet over what the allowed height is, but really the 15 feet is anywhere on the property, not that close to the property line. So they're really asking for a 7-foot variance in my eyes. I wouldn't object if it was 480 square feet and one level and a normal height, and it didn't impact my backyard. People used to come into my backyard and say, oh, this is beautiful, and now I get, oh my gosh, what is that? It's just so massive. And I've mentioned this to my neighbors that I have no objection to a 480 square foot shed that close to the property if it's a normal height, 10 feet, 12 feet, not 17 feet. And I agree, with how is it 8 feet on the first floor and then only 4 feet, 9 inches on the second when it's 17 feet in total. So, that's really it. It's just such an eyesore to my backyard, and I really think it negatively affects the value of my property. I have a beautiful deep acre, and this is it's all you see. One day I plan to put a pool over there, and I don't want to look at someone else's shed or garage or house. They've said they plan on putting solar panels on it. They have running water to it. I have a shed. That's not a shed. And that's really it.
All right,
Thank you.
Anyone else in the audience like to be heard on this application? No? Would you like to come back to answer concerns?
That will be all for our presentation. There's really no other comments. We try to address everything, all the concerns and the neighbors' concerns and all that. And that's all I can request for now, or say for now, and we kindly request your approval.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you.
Can I have a motion to close the application, please?
So moved.
Second.
Motion has been made to close the application. It's been seconded. All in favor?
Aye.
Motion carried. Thank you.
The next case on the agenda, excuse me, the next case on the agenda, case number 19123, P7881 Jericho LLC, 881 West Jericho Turnpike, Smithtown. The location of the property, the north side of Jericho Turnpike, 204 feet west of Manor Place. The property is split-zoned WSI and R10. The applicant is requesting a special exception to permit parking in a residential district, a variance of a special exception standard to reduce the required densely planted buffer from 48 feet to 14 feet, to increase the maximum gross floor area of a lot from 50% to 101% in the WSI district, to increase the maximum permitted FAR due to environmentally sensitive lands, depth to high groundwater less than 10 feet, from 50% to 214%, to permit environmentally sensitive lands to be altered where depth to groundwater is equal to or less than 10 feet, to permit environmentally sensitive lands to be altered for slopes greater than 15%, to permit construction within 10 feet of any slope greater than 25%, to reduce the required 50-foot buffer to a residential district from 50 feet to 0, to eliminate the required 6-foot screen fencing at the residential district boundary line, to reduce the minimum parking from 225 spaces to 30 spaces, to increase the maximum height of a wall sign from 15 feet to 19 feet, to increase the maximum area of a ground sign from 40 square feet to 72 square feet for a proposed 122,392 square foot, 2-story mini storage warehouse.
Good evening.
Good evening. My name is Dan Simone. I'm with P7 Development. Our offices are located at 76 Jericho Turnpike in Woodbury. I have with me Chris Voorhees from Nelson & Pope. He's our engineers. And I wanted to come to the board and present a little bit about our project. If you'd like, I do have the staff recommendations. If you'd like me to just clarify certain points within those recommendations,
Yes.
rather than go through the whole laundry list again?
That would be easier.
Okay. Just to give you a little background on the project, it's a split zone. The front is WSI, the rear is R10. The property is almost evenly split between the two zones. The front half of the property has been previously disturbed with some ground clearing. There's an existing building located on the bottom right corner with parking in the rear. The current R10 zone property is predominantly wooded. There has been a little historical clearing and grading of the hillside that moves up to the residential, through the residential zone. The variances requested, the special exception to permit parking in a residence district. Our parking has been split for this building. It's a 2-story building. Utilizing the slope of the property, we're accessing the second floor from the back of the property. So there's about 12 parking spaces at the rear, and then the first floor, which is accessed at grade level in the front, has another 16 spaces in the front. You can see from the site plan there, the building is located approximately 248 feet from the rear property line. Of that, approximately 180 feet will be maintained as green space buffer within the R10 zone. If you could put up the building elevation, I just wanted to kind of show the board how the building was designed to be built into the hillside. The rear of the building is located in the area of steep slopes that's on the property. And those steep slopes are a creation of historical excavation that occurred on the property. So you can see the area in front was excavated out. Looks like we have a dirt racetrack in the front of the property. So the steep slopes towards the back of the property are a culmination of the grading, historical grading. So that will be filled in for the second level, and the rear property will be stabilized.
Dan, apologies. We do not have the elevations loaded into the
Oh.
laptop.
Okay.
Okay.
So you can see from the top portion here, this is the front, which is the two-story portion of the building. The maximum height of the building is 26 foot 3 to the top of the parapet. The roof line is about 25 feet. As you go up to the rear of the building, the top of the parapet is 22 feet in the back, and the roof line is at about 11 feet, 11 and a half feet on the rear side. So from the rear, you see a one-story building, and from the front, you'll see a two-story building. The third level, being the basement, is fully submerged on all sides, so it's not visible. Again, the rear elevation, which is the one-story, is located approximately 250 feet from the rear property line, and we have about 175-foot vegetated buffer between the nearest residence property and the building. I'll let Chris kind of give you an overview of traffic, circulation, utilities, and I'll be here to answer any questions.
Thank you.
All right, great. As said before, my name is
Just introduce yourself.
Christopher
I'm sorry.
Voorhees with Nelson Pope Engineering, located at 70 Maxis Road, Melville, New York, 11747. So first, I'd just like to briefly describe the site circulation, the driveways, and the parking. As Dan has already described a little bit, the site entrance is on the eastern side of the property. It's currently in a location where there is a site entrance. The site will feature two parking areas indicated. A total of 30 parking stalls are provided. The site driveways will allow access for both customers as well as emergency vehicles. You can see in the rear of the property we have a emergency vehicle turnaround that also will be used for access for the dumpster, which is located in the rear of the property to allow for that refuse vehicle to maneuver and turn around. The site will provide accessible routes from the right-of-way, and there will be loading zones identified in the parking areas. So the site topography, one of the biggest challenges, as described before, we have a large grade change from one side of the property to the other. We have about a elevation 45 at Jericho and 110 in the rear of the property. So we have designed this building to work with this sloping grade. So in addition to working with the building, we also had to consider the impacts to the slope. So to minimize impacts to the slope, we created a retaining wall in the rear of the property. To limit the canyon effect that could happen by having such a large retaining wall next to a building, we've held that at 6 feet high to allow for it not to feel too cumbersome to the customers in that area, but allow us to minimize the impacts to the slopes. As far as stormwater, the stormwater will be collected and recharged on site. As indicated, groundwater is a concern. Due to the large grade difference on a site like this, we can expect groundwater is going to follow that grade. So we're going to be doing a additional geotechnical investigation to identify the drainage conditions of the soils as well as the groundwater elevations. We're going to do multiple borings throughout the site to get a good site profile. This geotechnical investigation will be used to deal with the detailed design of the drainage system, as well as the site sanitary. Site sanitary will be collected and treated
and recharge using an IA system and an innovative alternative on-site wastewater treatment system. The site will also be provided by electric and gas utility services, and it'll feature lighting, landscape improvements that will be further developed during the site plan phase of this. And of course, all those will be in accordance with town standards. That's the brief overview of the site.
All right.
Now that we got all the smart technical stuff out of the way, I'll just give you an overview of the operation of the facility. Self-storage facilities are generally very low intense uses with regard to traffic and customer satisfaction. I mean, we have, for the most part, we get on the average of, during lease-up, we get on the average of 2 to 3 vehicles, maybe a day. A lot of the online booking is done for self-storage facilities these days, so a lot of people do not even venture out to the customer service. The facility will be staffed with probably 2 to 3 full-time employees, 2 on the weekends, 1 during the week. And again, during lease-up is when the most of the traffic would be generated, but we're not anticipating really more than a few vehicles a day during the lease-up period. The box sizes vary from about, 50 square feet for the smaller ones up to about 200 square feet for the larger ones, with an average storage unit size of about 100 to 120 feet. Buildings of this nature are inherently very wasteful as far as space, because we do need access aisles between every set of boxes, so the efficiency of these type of buildings is very, very low, in generally the 70%. So of a building of 112 square feet, we generally only have about 80,000 square feet of rentable space. The first level in the front will contain the management office. It is our intent to go out to a large third-party management firm for a building, to manage this building for us. What else can I tell you about it? I think I hit all the points. You probably have more questions than I have answers to. So, okay.
Just a couple, please. Lighting, site lighting.
Site lighting. Mm-hmm.
What's the layout? Is there lighting? It appears that there are neighbors to the north. Is there lighting proposed for the rear? And if so, how are you planning on keeping it from leaking over the property lines?
Yeah, we're going to address site lighting fully under site plan, but right now, the residences are probably about 40 to 50 feet above us. Our site lighting will be maintained strictly at the back, at the where the retaining wall is, facing inward, so there won't be any kind of glare upwards. Obviously, all night sky compliant, downward facing lights.
Thank you. And the only other question I had was hours of operation.
Generally, the property facility is staffed from about 8 to 6, and users will have access to the building up to about 9:30. And they will be key card access for tenants for storage.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
It's Monday. Is it 7 days a week?
Yes.
7 days.
Mm-hmm.
Anybody else?
Yeah, I mean, mine is more of a comment than a question, but maybe you can convince me. It looks like an oversized building that's going to be tight on a lot. The traffic navigation doesn't look like it's going to be easy either. I see your emergency turnaround, so I imagine vehicles that enter and circumnavigate part of the building would simply back up and turn around to come back out. But it looks tight. I mean, you're talking about 30 spaces where the required number for this size building would be substantially more. The building looks oversized for the lot, is my gut reaction.
Right. I mean, well, yes. Traffic will, let me just answer the traffic scenario. We did have the plan reviewed by the fire marshal. We do have adequate turning and fire lanes. for his emergency vehicles. It's only a two-story structure, so he doesn't need to get in ladder trucks and stuff like that to service it. So it has been designed in that respect. The overall building size, while it appears large for the parcel, understand we're not building on the R10 zone. So while the variance is for 101% based upon strictly the area of the WSI. If you took the area of the entire parcel, we would be at 57%, only 7% over the maximum FAR.
I don't know if that makes me feel a lot better, but,
Okay.
but I understand what you're saying. Did you say the expected utilization curve here would be 50% of the space?
I'm sorry, I'm
Did
saying?
you say the expected utilization would be 50% of the space? at any
No,
given
no,
point in
the,
time?
the effective utilization is about 80% of the space.
80%,
Yeah. Mhm.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Just to satisfy Mr. D'Amato's concerns, maybe if you explain the difference between a conventional warehouse and the use of mini storage, because parking, we've learned from past cases that the need is quite less, and maybe put that on the record.
Yeah, I mean, obviously the need for customer parking is very limited. Usually when someone comes to utilize a mini storage place, they're coming with their car, their van. They pull up to the loading zone in front of the building. They will unload their boxes, they'll take them to the storage room, and then they will leave. The parking spaces really very seldom get used. I mean, it's only if someone were maybe occupying the loading zone that they would pull into a parking spot to wait. But on a typical user basis here, we're probably talking, when the facility is fully occupied, people generally go into 12, 6-month, 18-month leases. And when they come once, they generally don't come back for many months. So other than, the lease up and the storage, which is generally about 2 to 3 trips a day, we figure a building like this will lease up in about 30 months, okay? So that would probably translate to about 20 boxes, 20 leases a month, which is really less than one a day,
Tenant spaces do you propose to have then?
There's about 750 units with it, storage units, ranging from a 5x5 to a 10x30.
And based on past experience, what percentage of them are accessed in any given day? Is 2% of the people, or 5%, or 25%?
Oh,
I know it's not 25, but I'm just wondering, what's the percentage?
No, the percent that's actively accessed on a day would be probably 2 to 4 customers.
I was thinking something like, okay, that's a
Yeah,
help. That's
yeah.
a help, thank you.
Mhm. Yeah.
Anyone else have any questions?
Mr. Chairman, Planning prepared a planning advisory report. We reviewed the application. Outside of a small issue with the size of the ground sign, we recommended approval of the application.
Thank you. David?
Application, we identified that this site is in an environmentally sensitive area with potential high groundwater. We have asked the applicant to provide test hole data. Although we know it's a hillside, some parts of this site have high groundwater. The applicant proposes a full cellar under the entire building, a full cellar under the building, and we want to see what the impacts are related to the high groundwater potential.
And
So
we have
there's no
scheduled-
decision tonight.
No,
Yeah.
understood. And we have scheduled the boring team to go out there and do the soil probes.
Okay, thank
So
you.
we will be submitting that information.
All right, great. Is there anyone in the audience like to be heard on this application? Come on up, one at a time, please. Good evening.
Good evening, how are you? My name's William McKillop. I live at One Manor Place, which is directly next to where this monstrosity is about to go up.
Could you
Oh,
spell your
sorry.
last name? Could you spell your last name, please?
McKillop.
Thank you.
I've got a number of concerns. When they opened up the neighborhood next to me, there was a tremendous rodent issue that was caused by the excavation in the building. How is that going to be addressed? Because it cost me thousands to clean up the mess that that created. My other concern is the dumpster. When will it be picked up? The shopping center behind us is at 4 a.m. I'm woken up by tractor trailers with dumpsters, tractor trailers idling. I want to make sure that's not going to be the same instance here. Because this will be basically right off my driveway. You can't tell in this map, but my driveway is right there. My fence is the white fence to the right of that yellow line. Go to the, just below your mouse, your little hand pointer right there. Right there? Yes. So my big concerns are what are the impacts going to be? How bright are the lights going to be? Because Smithtown Tire lights up my whole backyard. He's 120 feet below me with his red lights. And the hour of operation, you're saying you close at 9:30. What time are you opening? Like I said, those are my biggest concerns because I've seen self-storage facilities before, and lots of shady stuff happens in them after hours.
My name is Carolyn McKillop. I also live at One Manor Place. It's my husband, and just want to reiterate everything that he said, and I think our biggest concern is safety. We live in a residential area. They're looking for a variance to go from commercial to residential. And, you know, a storage unit, no one's monitoring it. You're getting people, a lot of different people. We live in a community here. Both of us have been born and raised in Smithtown. We pride ourselves in the community and just having a safe neighborhood. And that's clearly right in our backyard. That's going to kill our property value, as well as the noise, and as the gentleman before said, obnoxious signs. And I don't understand the reason why to put far into residential area. I guess, you know, he shared his small project with you, but I'm here to state that, you know, there's a residential community that he's digging up into, and we were here when the new development went in, and I had to pay thousands of dollars to Suburban Exterminator to have extermination done around my property and in my house because of everything that was lifted. And I feel like this is like a whole repeat again. I thank you for listening to my husband and I this evening. And those are clearly our concerns. And if they could possibly address some of them, that would just give us some comfort. We're a family.
All right.
And
Can you
just
just
safety.
address
Thank
us,
you.
please?
Thank you.
All right, thank you very much. Sir, in the back? Good evening.
Good evening. Hi. My name is Chuck Lembo, Lembo. This is my friend Michael Karanikis. He lives at the back end. You see the house with the covered pool right at the end there? That's his house. But I'm an architect. I've been doing this for 32 years, and so he asked me to read this and maybe come up and just clarify a few things. I will say it's not as bad as I thought. I read this write-up, and I'm really confused because there's things in here that mention a reduction of a buffer to 0 feet, but they're telling me that it's 180 feet from the edge of the parking lot to his property line. So I'm not really understanding how this was written, unless this is only addressing the commercial portion of the property, because, I mean, 180 feet is a lot bigger than 0. So if I sound like I don't know what I'm talking about, it's because I don't understand what this is.
You see the red line in the picture?
Right.
That's what's called a residential district boundary line.
Okay, so
the
the
property
write-up
to the
is-
south is commercial, the property to the north is residential.
So because they're developing the parking lot past that red line, the buffer's been reduced to 0 because it's the buffer to the residential zone, not
Correct,
to the
not
property.
the properties.
Understood. All right. So now I just have a couple of questions then that I'm hoping the applicant can respond to. Just to clarify, from the back end of the proposed parking and truck turnaround, we're saying that there's 180 feet of landscape and natural slope up to that rear property line to the north. And from what they also said, it looks like I understand that it's a 65-foot grade change from Jericho Turnpike to the property line, but from the end of the parking lot, because we're going up a floor, we're roughly 50 feet from the pavement in the parking lot to the rear northern property line. I just want that confirmed. And then my last question is, are they affecting any of the natural vegetation and landscaping on that slope? Are they removing any trees? Or are they going to be adding trees to it? Because right now, he's got a reasonably good buffer from his backyard. You know, he's higher than the roof of the building, and there's a good amount of trees up there, but, you know, if they're going to go in there and start bulldozing stuff to do work to the slope, I'd like to know that, so. Do you have any other questions? Nope. All right, then.
Well, I do think it's a rather large building for the area. That's for sure.
Excuse me, can you just use the microphone?
Oh, sure, I'm sorry.
Can we get your name on the record?
My first name, sure. My first name is Michael, the last name is Karanikis. That is spelled Kyranakis. 18 Asbury Drive, directly behind the property. I'm glad, I'm definitely glad I came. From reading that, my wife had a small little panic attack. But I do believe that it's a rather large building for the area. I don't think there's anything in our stretch of Jericho Turnpike that's anywhere near that size. So that's all.
All right. Thank you very much. Would you like to come back to answer their concerns, please?
Yeah, I do understand the first speaker's concern. Obviously, when land is developed, it does disrupt some of our unsavory residents. We do a rodent survey, and we do, like the existing building, we will have a rodent survey done on that, obviously, and anything will be taken care of in accordance with the health department rules and regulations at the point of demolition. So we do take care of the rodent issue. We wouldn't be demolishing buildings and allowing that to occur. Dumpsters, the dumpster in this facility is actually more of a convenience issue for the office use. It's a carry-in, carry-out facility. The tenants who utilize the storage containers, it's a carry-in, carry-out facility. So it's there for, you know, any boxes and what have you, paper goods that are thrown out for the office use only. So we're not anticipating a very large volume of pickup, but we can absolutely, we can absolutely control the hours of pickup, through our carter. I've had similar instances, with other facilities that we own and maintain in the area, and we do have a good relationship with our carting company, and they're very receptive to that. Yes, and the buffer issue, which the second gentleman raised, the buffer encroachments are really, they have to do with the side yard encroachments. So where our buffers are going down to 14 feet, it's to the residential zone to the right, which is currently commercial. But as I stated originally, the residential properties to the top, which are residential homes, we have 180 feet from the back of the turnaround to the residential property line back there. So, and that buffer only increases as we go to the east. So the buffer encroachments are really only affecting the commercial properties on either side of us, which are also have a split zone. So that's
The existing slope intact.
Yeah, we have a little grading to do above the retaining wall, which you see, but then the rest is all natural vegetation. There's some considerable trees. You could see the way the grading goes. It's very uniform from that point up. That's the area that was pretty much untouched under the original scenarios with the excavation on the property. So that will all be maintained, and we will be adding a heavily vegetated landscape buffer on top of the retaining wall also to supplement the existing vegetation. Because currently the vegetation is predominantly, it's predominantly hardwoods, so they do drop leaves, in the wintertime. So we will be adding evergreen screening above the retaining wall. And when you have a 6-foot retaining wall, and then we supplement that with a 6 to 7 foot, say, row of pines, the top of the pines is really hitting the top of our building, at the back. So it's going to be very well screened, through that 180 feet.
And can you just go over the lighting once again? They were concerned lighting going into the
Lighting
yard.
will all be directed towards the building and towards the pavement, so there will be no, and any security lighting on the building will be directed down to the entrances.
That's in the town code.
That's in the town code, yes. We're required to do that.
And again, I think there was a question about the start time. I know you close around 9. What time do you start?
About 8 o'clock.
8 o'clock.
Mhm.
No, someone is there. All right. I think,
Okay, and Chris has a couple points too.
okay.
So just as far as the grading, so the site has a large grade across it. However, we are trying to maintain the grading as much as possible in being consistent with the already cleared and flattened land. I described we're doing 3 borings. So one of our borings is the most upslope boring that we can achieve. That's at elevation 65. That's the same elevation as our parking lot in the rear of the structure. Where we're doing the grading and where the parking lot improvement is, there's some variation in the slope. However, our grade is very consistent with what is there now, at least on that bottom right corner of the development area. Now, that being said, another point on those retaining walls, so we are, our development parcels on the low side of that. So any kind of vehicles, the building is all going to be screened by that 6-foot high wall. In addition, Dan mentioned the plantings that would go on top of it. One other point that was made, but I just want to clarify it, is that the building itself, in the rear of the property, is going to appear as a single story. So that's going to help minimize those visual impacts to those adjacent residents.
Thank you. All right, can I have a motion to close the application, please?
So moved.
Second.
Motion has been made to close the application. It's been seconded. All in favor?
Aye.
Motion carried. Thank you.
Thank you.
And that concludes our meeting for tonight. The first case we heard tonight was case 19122, Rodney Lindor.
I'll make a motion to approve as presented.
Second.
Motion has been made to approve as presented. It's been seconded. All in favor?
Aye.
Motion carried, 5-0. Next case was case 19124, Matthew Hawkins.
The only concern I had was that it's being proposed in that drainage easement. What's the town's position on?
So it's really up to the highway superintendent if he is willing to offer them either an easement agreement or a hold harmless agreement that the town attorney's office would have to draft up and they would have to agree to. If they're willing to do that, we don't object to that.
I've had some preliminary conversations with.
Yeah.
I'm sorry, I've had some preliminary conversations with Bren from Highway Department, and Bren, and I believe that they're on board with a hold harmless. But I just couldn't prepare one unless the board approved them first.
Everyone okay with the
So we could-
setback?
we could approve it with the condition that they get the
Yeah, there you
hold
go.
harmless?
That's a good idea. That they just, an agreement acceptable. All right, so, case 19124, Matthew Hawkins, I'll make a motion to approve with the condition that the applicant enter into an agreement acceptable to the highway superintendent and the town attorney to build in the drainage easement.
Motion has been made to approve the conditions. It's been seconded. All in favor?
Aye.
Motion carried, 5-0. Next case is case 19125, Jacob Antaby.
Case 19125, I'll make a motion to approve as presented.
Motion has been made to approve as presented. It's been seconded. All in favor?
Aye.
Motion carried 5-0. Next case is case 19126. Yeah, no decision, no action.
Yeah.
Next case is case 19128, Robert Delhide.
I'll make a motion to approve as presented.
Motion has been made to approve as presented. It's been seconded. All in favor?
Aye.
Motion carried 5-0. Next case is case 19127, Mark Vinelli.
I'll make a motion to approve as presented.
Motion has been made to approve as presented. It's been seconded. All in favor? Aye. Motion carried 5-0. Next case is case 19061, Mary Sue Namus. No action. I'd like to see if we could take a look at that.
Do you want planning to contact the applicant and let them know that the members of the board want to do an on-site inspection of the structure?
Yeah, please.
To be honest with you, I don't know that that's necessary. I mean, what are you going to see on site? It's not going to be better than the pictures.
No.
I mean, my concern is that the height of the structure combined with the distance from the property line really impacts not just that neighbor to the rear, but also the neighbor to the side. You know, it's 2 feet from that property line as well. I mean, granted, you know, we've approved bigger structures in the rear yards, but never right on the property line like that. So I'm just thinking, you know, to belabor it, I mean, we have a secret. Do you guys want to,
Yeah, I would.
you guys want to discuss it on the record, or?
I'd like to take that second floor off.
I mean, that's what I was thinking too. Like, you know, if the goal is to have a 20 by 24 foot shed and storage above, you can accomplish that in the 15 foot, which is the requirement of the town code.
Technically, they could do that with a 12-foot high peak.
Right, and obviously had they had the benefit of approaching this board before building it, it's a self-created hardship monetarily that the structure's already built. It's not precedent to deny something after it's been built. I mean, unfortunately, you don't like doing it, but that's going to be there forever, and that's really not fair to the neighbors.
And it really impacts the neighbor to the, behind them.
Not an impact to the neighbor?
But 15 foot's allowed by the code. And I think if we put a couple conditions on it, such as it needs to be a straight gable roof, and there can be no windows or dormers in it, I mean, it's going to be, it'll give them the ability to store
Can you bring
on the
up
second
the
floor
photos?
and not impact anybody.
I think the only problem with that is Jeff's going to bring up the photos of the building under construction again, is that when you look at that, that's 17 feet. So let's take 2 feet off the height of that roof. That's still towering over
Yeah,
the
but we
neighbor's
could-
fence line.
But we can condition it that that roof starts at the plate of the first floor. Do they have a right? Like a straight gable.
So then it really wouldn't be anywhere near 15 feet tall if that plate's at 8
Whatever the
feet.
pitch, whatever the pitch is, will dictate. So say it's a 4 pitch and it's 10 feet, that means it's going to be about 3 feet. So it'll be about 13 to 14 feet.
I think if you're going to go that route, you have to be very specific in your condition.
I just think that, we're setting the precedent in allowing a second floor on a shed.
It is. I put it
mean,
on the
would never-
record.
I've never seen that.
I've been working with the board for more than 11 years. I've never seen an application for a shed that had a second floor.
I haven't
Ever.
either.
Or transom windows, or windows all the way
Yeah.
around. And electric and running water. To me, that's basically a second dwelling.
Mhm.
That's what it is. Looks like a cottage. Do they have a right to go to 15 feet under the code? That close
You
to
have
the
a
line?
right to go to 15 feet, provided that you meet your dimensional requirements. So in R43 zoning, you can have a 15-foot high structure in your required rear yard as long as you are at least 10 feet from all rear property lines. They are not.
So that gives this board the ability to impose conditions that relate to the variances. So if we feel that it's too close to the property line, we can impose conditions that would minimize the impact on the neighbors.
That would satisfy the lady to the rear, because she said, look, I've got the trees there, but 10, 12 feet is fine, 17 feet is ridiculous.
Well, they're her trees, too.
I'm saying, right, she's already done her due diligence there to cover it up.
Yeah.
How high does she have to go?
I mean, I think we could make a decision if we wanted to accomplish, I mean, is anyone opposed to the shed, the shed where it is?
If it's not that height, I guess not.
So why don't we, I'll make a motion, and then you guys decide if you agree with it or not. I'll make a motion.
Well, why don't you tell us the content of the motion?
So the content is basically going to be, I'm okay with the shed in its position, that we condition it that the roof starts at the top of the first floor plates. So at 8 feet, which is what the height is of the walls, the roof starts there, and then whatever the pitch is, if it's a 4-pitch or a 5-pitch, we can basically say we want a maximum of a 5-pitch roof. And that,
So how high would a 5-pitch be?
so it's 20 feet wide, so it's half of that pitch, so 10 feet times 5 inches per foot. So it would be,
It would be 15 feet tall, close to 15 feet. I think you'd be better off limiting it to 1 story, no taller than 12 feet.
If it's 5 inches per foot, yes, you're gonna be almost 15 feet.
Yeah.
that's fine too.
You know, if you want to limit the impact to the neighbor.
And
I'm
then
al-
still give them some room to store
And
stuff
still
up
give them
there.
some room, and I'm also thinking about down the road, as applications come in for all of you, when you have to deliberate on this stuff, what do you want your line in the sand to be?
Right.
For something like this? So,
Okay. Is everyone okay with what Blaze had?
I am.
Maximum 12 feet?
and no windows in the gables and.
No gables, no windows.
Right.
I'm sorry, no dormers. Okay, so case 19061, Mary Sue Namias. I'll make a motion to, I'm going to go through them one at a time. Request variance to increase maximum height from 15 feet to 17 feet be denied. Yeah, I was going to do kind of a condition.
Okay.
So reduce minimum distance to a rear lot line from 10 feet to 2 feet. For the side lot line is where the 2-foot setback is. For an existing 480 square foot shed, and reduce the minimum side yard setback from 24 feet to 16 feet, and reduce the total side yards from 60 feet to 45 feet for an existing, I'm sorry, that's the other one. I'll finish the first one. 10 feet to 2 feet for an existing 480 square foot shed be approved with the condition that the roof start at the top of the walls, which are on the record as being at 8 feet, and that the maximum height of the peak be no more than 12 feet, and that there be no dormers and/or windows in that roof. And the second variance, reduce minimum side yard setback from 24 feet to 16 feet, reduce total side yards from 60 feet to 45 feet for an existing hot tub on paver patio be approved.
So I just want to make sure that I wrote it all down correctly. Item number 1, increase the height from 15 to 17 is denied. Item number 2, reduce the distance to a rear lot line from 10 to 2 for the existing 480 square foot shed is approved with the condition that the roof shall start at the top of the wall, which is 8 feet in height. To the top of the peak of the roof shall be no more than 12 feet, and there shall be no windows or dormers within the roof or the gables.
Yes.
Okay.
Is everyone okay with that?
Yeah.
Okay. Motion has been made to approve with conditions. It's been seconded. All in favor?
Aye.
Motion carried 5-0. Next case is case 19113, J. Nazaro Partnerships, LP, Taco Bell.
Do you want to approve that other sign?
So if I could just let everybody know why I limited them to one sign on the mobile pickup. They're proposing to have 2 spaces in the parking lot right near the front of the building for mobile pickup. I limited it to one sign because they could put that sign in the middle of both parking lots, and even if they did arrows pointing to the 2 spaces, you would know that's for mobile pickup, they don't need 2 signs.
That's something like we did with McDonald's.
Right,
Okay.
That's a good idea, Blaze.
thank you.
All right, so do we want to go through the planning advisory report? Is everyone okay with the PAR?
Yes.
Yeah, so I got to take away that you're not doing that in 13.
Correct.
Okay. Let me get that out of
So I'm going to read through them one at a time. Case 19113, J. Nazaro Partnership. On the variance to increase the maximum area of a ground sign from 32 square feet to 73 square feet for signs 9 and 10. Make a motion to approve. The variance to increase the maximum area of a ground sign from 32 square feet to 187 square feet for sign number 14 be approved to 64 square feet only. On the variance to increase the maximum number of ground signs from 1 per parcel to 8 for signs 8 through 14, make a motion to approve to 7 only for signs 7 through 12 and 14 with conditions. On the variance to increase the maximum height of a wall sign from 15 to 28 feet for sign 1, make a motion to approve. On the variance to increase the maximum height of a wall sign from 15 feet to 18 feet for sign number 2, I'll make a motion to approve. On the variance to increase the maximum height of a wall sign from 15 feet to 25 feet for sign number 3, I'll make a motion to approve. On the variance to increase the maximum height of a wall sign from 15 feet to 19 feet for sign number 4, I'll make a motion to deny. On the variance to increase the maximum number of wall signs from 1 to 5 for signs 1 through 6, approved to 3 signs only for signs 1 through 3. The variance to permit a wall sign not to face a public street, signs 3, 4, and 6, I'll make a motion to approve for sign number 3 only. And the conditions are as follows. The proposed 187 square foot ground sign shall be reduced in size not to exceed 8 foot by 8 foot, 64 square foot total, including a 2-foot high masonry monument style base.
Motion has been made to approve with conditions. It's been seconded. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Motion carried 5-0. Next case is case 19123, P7881 Jericho LLC, no action. On the rear page, first case is case 1-18900, Matan Alantis. I think last time we heard this, we had approved it to 60. They came in, they wanted it 100. But I think David and his people came up with, in order to fit the sanitary system in there, you needed 72 feet. You know, I'm willing to go 80.
As I think I put on the record when we had the hearing, at the 80-foot setback, the face of the house is directly adjacent to the middle of the house of the next-door neighbor. So the house isn't protruding into the front yard, and it's not behind their house, so there's no loss of privacy or an invasion of privacy. And they get an additional 20 feet.
So would you say that that is the minimum variance necessary to meet the applicant's objectives?
Absolutely.
All right.
Yeah.
So we need to, is this a new application or was this a reopen?
This was a rehearing for a request to
Modify.
modify the previous.
So we need a unanimous, correct?
Yes.
So I'll make a motion to modify the previous approval to 80-foot front yard setback?
All right. Tony?
Yes.
Adrian?
Yes.
Bill? Paul? And I'm a yes also. So 5-0 to 80 feet. All right. Next case is case 19099, Lori
326.
Kirkek.
19099. We were just waiting on the LWRP
LWRP and secret, yes.
and? No comments?
No comments.
All right. Case 19099, I'll make a motion to approve as presented.
Motion has been made to approve as presented. It's been seconded. All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Motion carried, 5-0. Next case is case 19104, Comac 100 LLC, Shake Shack.
I don't know if I was here for this one.
It was last meeting, was it?
No.
It's either April 9th or April 23rd.
Hold on, let's see.
We-
19104. Hold
We
on.
can shoot first.
Huh? I think I wasn't here April 9th.
Yes, it was April 9th.
Okay, so I was not here for that meeting.
Okay. We need a sequel first.
Case 19104, Comac 100 LLC, Secra.
Motion has been made to adopt the sequel. It's been seconded. All in favor?
Aye.
Sequel is adopted, 4-0. Now on the merits.
The only thing that we want the board to be aware of is that since the public hearing, there have been some changes made to the site plan that you viewed based on planning's recommendations to the applicant and the people working on it. So the changes that they made meet and comply with all of the recommendations we've made. The only concern we do have, although we have been told that the Suffolk County DPW substantially is okay with the curb cut on Crooked Hill Road. We just want to, some actual verification from them. And I believe that we did write a follow-up memo to the board. Let me look really quick. Because we wanted you to be aware of the changes. And I'm not seeing it. Why am I not seeing it? And I'm not seeing it. Here we go. So we did a follow-up memo today, and we did put a condition on the approval. Basically, if you want to read this into the record, I think that's the best way to go. But the condition that we put on the application, aside from the changes that we asked the applicant to make, would be that they get official approval from the Suffolk County Department of Public Works. And there were some minor changes that were made to the plan that actually changes the approval slightly, so if you want to go one by one and just read it into the record.
Now, do these recommendations, they reflect the changes?
Yes.
Okay. All right. So I will read these, and it's 4?
Yeah.
Okay. Okay, so case 19104, Comac 100 LLC, Shake Shack. On the merits, the variance to increase the number of permitted curb cuts from 4 to 5 be approved with conditions. The variance to reduce the minimum required parking from 1,359 spaces to 979 spaces be approved. Variance to increase the maximum area of a ground sign from 32 square feet to 114 square feet for sign number 17 be approved to 96 square feet only. Variance to increase the number of ground signs from a maximum of 2 per parcel to 15 be approved to 9 only for signs numbers 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, and 17. Variance to increase the number of wall signs from a maximum of 1 sign to 5 be approved to 2 only for signs numbers 2 and 3. And the variance to permit a wall sign not to face a public street for sign number 5 be denied. And the condition is the additional curb cut onto Crooked Hill Road, County Road 13, shall be subject to approval from the Suffolk County Department of Public Works.
Second.
Motion has been made to approve with conditions. It's been seconded. All in favor? Aye. Motion carried 4-0.
What is it? Taking something else over? I don't know where it is.
Oh, no, it's not. It's a new.
Okay. Next case on the agenda is case 19111, Amjad Malik.
Oh, please. Oh, is that the, not me. I'm out. I wasn't here.
Are you waiting for me?
I'm not doing anything.
Oh, okay. So all of you are aware that this is the application on Main Street in Kings Park for a deli bagel shop. The applicant's attorney put on the record that there were very specific things that they were not going to be selling. Among them would be any type of tobacco product or vaping product, any type of alcoholic beverage, or any type of item that would require the owner or someone working in the store to have to require the customer to show ID for proof of age. So the application before you is for a proposed deli bagel cafe.
Can we make the motion? Okay. I'll make the motion that we approve this application as it is presented. Second.
Motion has been made to approve as presented. It's been seconded. All in favor?
Aye.
Motion carried 4-0. Yeah, not much you could do, you know? All right. The next two cases are extension of time. The first one is case 18938, New York SMSA Limited Partnership doing business as Verizon Wireless. They're asking for an extension to 6/27/25. Does anybody have any objection to that?
Nope.
That extent,
Only comment I would make is I represent Verizon, but not Verizon Wireless. I can recuse myself if you want, but I've never handled wireless to the best of my knowledge. Okay.
it's just an extension of time.
Understood.
Yeah. All right, so 5-0, the extension of time is passed. The next case is case 1-18664, Henrik Lipton. They're asking for an extension of time to 4/25/25. I would
I'm
approve
okay
it.
with it. That was the
Yeah.
place on Jericho?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Is it unusual to ask for a whole year?
Not for a commercial application, no.
Everybody in agreement?
Yes?
Yep.
Sure. Why not?
Okay. That extension of time is passed 5-0. And that's all I have for tonight. That's it. Good night.